who are meeting the moment with the same energy that
they're not asking for AOC.
Yes, they are.
The people you party with
No. The people I party with don't like AOC.
Oh, please.
No, they don't at all.
Well, most people don't.
AOC just had one of her most embarrassing moments yet, and it all went down on live TV. Bill Maher didn't hold back. He called her out in front of everyone and exposed the cracks in her carefully crafted image. Let's get into it.
I also think that what people are starting to see, at least in the occupation of Palestine, is just an increasing crisis of humanitarian condition. And that to me is just where I tend to come from on this issue.
Now, at first, AOC's response carried this air of confidence, like she was speaking with absolute authority. But then the interviewer presses just a little, asking her to explain what she actually meant. Here is where everything begins to unravel.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine. What did you mean by that?
Oops. At this point, things are going downhill. But let's listen to what AOC says.
I think what I meant is like the settlements that are increasing in some of these areas and places where Palestinians are experiencing difficulty in access to their housing and homes.
Do you think you can expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd also just, I am not the expert on geopolitics on this issue. You know, for me, I'm a firm believer.
She literally just backed off completely. And this is where the criticism really started to snowball. Ever since Bill Maher called her out, AOC's been struggling to shake off the perception that she's all talk with no depth. Once praised as a rising progressive star, she now finds herself stumbling through basic questions on the very issues she built her brand on. Whether it's economics, immigration, or climate change, her answers keep coming off vague, shaky, or downright evasive. And that hasn't gone unnoticed. From conservatives to moderates, even some progressives, the backlash has been relentless. Joe Rogan himself has even echoed Maher's blunt take, adding fuel to the fire.
One of my favorite interviews was when AOC was talking to that lady and she asked her to expand.
About Israel-Palestine?
Oh my God.
Well, I believe absolutely in Israel's right to exist.
She just collapsed into herself?
It's literally like a fifth grader that didn't study.
Looked at that incident more through just as an incident.
And then they ask you about the subject, or you didn't read the book. Well, you know, it's about Billy and his dog.
What once came across as fearless conviction now feels more like a rehearsed act. And the more she talks, the harder it is to ignore the cracks. The polished image is fading, and the mask is slipping fast. Just watch this moment.
I think if you actually do see some of the photos of the signs, I think there's something to be said about the government's about to shut down. There's a vote clock that's going down. The exits that are normally open in that building were suddenly closed.
So you pulled the fire alarm?
So what I am here to say is...
And that right there, that's the panic in real time. A response so jumbled it sounds less like an explanation and more like a word salad on fire. If you followed AOC for a while, you'll recognize the pattern. Whenever she's cornered with a tough question, or one she hasn't prepped for, her answers spiral into jargon-packed rambling that doesn't really say anything at all.
For me, I just look at things through a human rights lens, and I may not use the right words. I know this is a very honest.
That's very honest, and you're going
issue.
to. I mean, it's very honest, and when you.
AOC leans on buzzwords like systemic injustice, intersectionality, and marginalized communities. It sounds intellectual, sure, but when you strip away the fluff, there's little actual substance behind it. And here's the kicker. People are starting to notice. Theatrics that once fired up her base now fall flat. What used to be sold as passion is being revealed as performance. And as each debate goes on, AOC looks less like a powerhouse and more like a politician running out of places to hide.
But what I do think is
wait, hold on. He's active and fully participating in saying that there was a misunderstanding.
He
what
was
the
actively.
hell? That is not our language.
No, he was.
What language is that? She is delightfully stupid. I know people don't like her. I understand that.
Right.
But I just find her just wonderful. She's so dumb.
In another exchange, AOC went even further, calling for investigations and even the possible impeachment of members of the Supreme Court. Here's what she said.
I believe that we should be considering subpoenas. We should be considering investigations. We must pass much more binding and stringent ethics guidelines.
Now, on the surface, that sounds fiery and bold, right? But listen to what she says next.
There also must be impeachment on the table. We have a broad level of tools to deal with misconduct, overreach, and abuse of power. And the Supreme Court has not been receiving the adequate oversight necessary in order to preserve their own legitimacy.
Well, this is exactly the point Bill Maher has been hammering home. AOC's words don't always match reality. For someone who claims to be the champion of the working class, she's been spotted front and center at elite red carpet galas, wearing designer gowns at events hosted by the very same billionaire she rails against. That's not fighting the system. That's playing the game while pretending to oppose it. And Bill Maher isn't having any of it all in the conversation with Don Lemon.
People love AOC. People love Jasmine Crockett. People love Eric Swalwell and the like. And I think that the Democratic Party should put the people out there who the people want. They should put the politicians out there who the people want, who they're asking for.
Bill Maher immediately interrupts Don with this.
Who are meeting the moment with the same energy that
they're not asking for AOC.
Yes, they are.
The people you party with are.
No. The people I party with don't like AOC.
Oh, please.
No, they don't at all.
Well, most people don't.
But
she's
AOC,
very far left.
Let me tell you why I'm saying that.
And just like that, you can see the panic set in. At first, Don Lemon is all in, insisting that people are calling for AOC to lead the charge. But the second Bill Maher pushes back, pointing out that most Americans aren't exactly lining up behind her, Lemon starts scrambling. Suddenly, even his own friends don't like AOC? Talk about a quick backpedal. For Lemon, who's been struggling to stay relevant since his CNN departure, this whole attempt to prop up AOC doesn't strengthen her case. It only highlights just how shaky her support really is.
Because because people will vote for AOC and Donald Trump on the same ticket. Because they're authentic. No, because they're authentic.
I don't think that Don.
I think you're wrong about that.
That's Don Lemon trying to argue that AOC and Trump share the same appeal, authenticity. But Bill Maher isn't buying it.
What people like about people like Trump and Fetterman is because it's irrelevant to her life.
But you don't know her life.
At this point, Maher takes it even further, cutting straight through the image AOC has carefully built.
I know that being a gorgeous woman who I wouldn't even know was Hispanic in a city that has 1 million Hispanics and does not treat them badly.
But that doesn't mean she doesn't struggle. That doesn't mean that she was set down.
It implies it.
But that doesn't mean that she was set down in a Hispanic ghetto in the Bronx and had to deal with that growing up, and that she's come from a working class family.
It implies that it implies that in some way she's behind the 8 ball because of that, and it's just not true.
See, this is Maher's central point. The authenticity people feel from Trump or Fetterman doesn't quite translate to AOC because her background isn't what she makes it out to be. And he's not wrong to raise the question. Despite the narrative of a tough, working-class upbringing, AOC's family was relatively well off. She had opportunities and education that many working families never get. That doesn't erase her achievements, but it does make her "I came from the struggle" storyline harder to sell. So when Maher pushes back, it lands. He's not just questioning her politics, he's questioning the very authenticity that her entire brand is built on. What do you think?